people have always learned through stories, and stories tend to be quite similar in every place on planet Earth. And I think that we'll now have another example of that. I'd like to invite to the presentator's place Michael Ingui, who tell us some story from New York. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, folks. Okay, first of all, I am super excited to be here, and I'm definitely in the right presentation. You're like the poster child for what I'm about to say. So I felt like the sessions this morning, again, everything's kind of happening, which is super cool. So for those of you who don't know me, I have an architecture firm in New York. We do a lot of passive house work. Almost all of them are historic masonry retrofits. I'm talking about one tomorrow. Usually I would talk about how to scale and how to do one of these projects in a systematic way. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Today, I'm talking about more of what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing. I'm also the founder of the Passive House Accelerator. And Reimagine Buildings Collective, where we get to hear so many stories about what's working, what's not working, what people are doing, what they should be doing. So I'm going to share those with you today. I'm also the founder of Source 2050, which is a marketplace that's bringing materials to be purchased in the US. Through that, which is super interesting, because I guess we're in a consumer culture, we're seeing what people want to buy. And it's really funny that we're learning more about what people want from that than I am through stories. So consumerism at its best. Anyway, coming into it, I think we're all convinced here that passive house works. We have buildings of every type. By the way, these are not all my projects. A lot of these are from the accelerator. Some of the people are here. We know that they work with the same principles and the same way of working at completely different scales. We know that you can do some really cool, impressive projects and have them be passive house. We know that they work with crazy different restraints. The project on the left is my project. It's what we're talking about tomorrow. It's a firehouse converted to a passive house with a community facility and a garage internal to the building on the first floor and multifamily above. And then what's to the right is a project that Cheryl's going to be, who I think is here, is going to be describing. And that is a dorm which was built in a very short amount of time in New York City, also historic. So we know it works. We know it's all across Europe. We know it's growing throughout the globe. I don't think the problem is just scaling. I think we're having an industry problem where we need to stop talking about it like it needs to scale, and what we need to talk about is how to make it standard. So I think we're having an issue where our technical capability is outpacing the market demand. So what I'm going to talk about today, which is what Esther is actually doing, which is cool, you go, is how do we get market demand to catch up, and how do we do it in like a year, 2 years? So what is a crowd like this that already does really well? I was going to say kicks ass, but you know, what do you do when you leave here? Where do you go? What do you do? That's what I want to talk about. So from PHP modeling to getting your client to understand it better, from certified designers to financing structures, broker awareness, policy alignment, builder confidence. We have a lot of passive house projects that are built. How confident are the builders who built them? Get them to talk to other builders so that they stop asking, can they build it? There's a lot of, when we just focus on just the builders, if we just solved that one problem, we would solve a lot of problems. I don't think we have a marketing issue, because 10 years ago, these were the headlines in New York. Last year, these are the headlines in New York, though. And I don't know if anybody notices the difference. I'll toggle back and forth, but there's no difference. There's lots of questions here. They answer some of these questions in the article, but we have to stop asking the questions. We know the answer, it works. So these are some of my ideas. They're not new, because you just saw them in practice. The power of storytelling. So all right, I had to write an article for Green Building Advisor, and I was trying to figure out, like, how do I talk about passive house? I live in a passive house. So how do I get like normal people to like understand what a passive house is? It's like 5:30 in the morning. It was December, and I'm like in shorts and a t-shirt and no socks. I don't have winter pajamas anymore. And my dog, who's now passed away, was just going in and out of this really big sliding glass door. I'm having a cup of coffee. I'm like, how do I describe passive house? And I'm like, holy shit, oh my God, I forgot to turn my heat on. So it's December, we're in New York, we're having a polar vortex. It's 18 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's super cold, way below zero, way below zero. People are complaining all over the place. Down south, we were having trees dying, and I'm wearing shorts, a t-shirt, bare feet, drinking coffee next to a big glass door that I'm opening and closing, and I forgot to put my heat on. All of my Mitsubishis are in cooling. I forgot to put them into heating. Well, I mean, I put them in heating, but that's how you describe Passive House. Or the client that's on this, if you look at the QR code, there's a whole segment on this on the accelerator. The client here decided they wanted a Passive House because they wanted something that was safe, secure. They wanted something that would get them through issues where there was smoke damage and so forth. And they wanted a safe home. So it's clients telling the stories. Carbon before comfort. There's going to be a little bit of a theme here to beg people to stop talking about Passive House the way we talk about Passive House. Clients don't know anything about carbon. They don't even know that living in a building that has high carbon is bad. They don't know what that means. Developers don't know what that means. Most of the people you think that they know what that means, I mean, they'll hopefully learn, but we don't have to talk about it right now. I would talk about comfort. I would put comfort before everything. In my opinion, comfort is our fastest way to get people to do Passive House, because what Passive House provides is comfort. And if you get them to get excited about that, well, then you can start to talk to them a little bit about carbon while you're building. You can talk to them about all those different things. They want the quiet, they want the fresh air. They don't know what carbon is. Just coming into this building, which is another cool project, not mine, they took Passive House and they used the Passive House principles and the certification steps, and they're going way beyond. They've got a community that really actually, they're dealing with trauma victims who need quiet, who need things. They're not getting there without Passive House. So number 3 is incentives. Incentives help. We're in New York. I've got NYSERDA. I should never complain about incentives. Some of our buildings have been NYSERDA award winners. I know Brussels has done this as well. It helps to create market gaps. It helps to fill them with industries and so forth. But at some point, long-term adoption has to stand without these incentives. So while you have the incentives, you've got to like race to get that industry to do it. So the way I've been talking about it, and some of the things that I'm going to work on now are some of the next slides, I'm really looking at this as a risk reduction tool for developers. When we start to think about a typical building, you've got energy volatility, moisture issues, comfort issues. I've got complex mechanical systems. And when I think about a Passive House, I have energy stability. I've got durable envelopes. Comfort and reliability, smaller mechanical systems. A bank will understand this. So, I mean, I was going to ask everybody if there are any insurance brokers in the room or if there are any finance folks in the room. So yeah, there you go. That's who I'm going to be talking to. I'm going to try to talk my way into getting into some of these conferences that have nothing to do with Passive House. Because when you think about it, Passive House is a risk reduction tool, and they will get that. They will all get it. So I've been starting to do this. I was just on the Super Cool podcast. Again, Esther, like you already showed it. I was on a real estate podcast. What I would say, everybody here, because you're so good at what you do, just try to get yourself onto the adjacent. You don't have to go too far out, but all the adjacent things. What's cool about the Passive House stuff, they're really simple lessons that are impossible to unlearn. So once the general public learns the lessons, assuming you're speaking in their language and not our language, they'll learn them. I have shown this slide. It's got to be like 100,000 times, but I still like it. And you know, it's the 5 principles of Passive House that we all know, and it's me begging everybody to please never say them. I mean, you can amongst us, but the clients, they want them so badly, but they don't know they can have them. And once you let people know they can have them, they will do anything. My clients never dump air sealing a house when they know that they can have a house that's sealed from unwanted moisture and bugs and dust. Nobody wants the house that has that. Everybody wants filtered fresh air 24/7. People just do not know they can have it. So if you really focus on the amenities of Passive House instead of describing ad nauseum kind of what a thermal bridge is. I mean, I have to tell you, I was super excited when I learned what a thermal bridge was. Then I felt guilty that I had designed buildings wrong for 15 years. But nobody else needs to know that. They just need to know that I'm going to have warm floors and warm walls. So everybody can copy that slide. I'll send it to you all. Built proof. So this really gets into what we're doing here, what Passive House Institute does really well. I don't believe anything. Nothing. I am the most skeptical human. I'm an optimist, but I'm skeptical. I'm a skeptical optimist. But I think most architects are, most builders are, most people are, especially in the age of AI. Everything has to be verified. Everybody wants verified data, and people believe what they experience, period. So open up your job sites, open up your architecture office, open up different things and invite people over for a wine and have them feel it, have them see it. Have your contractors talk to other contractors is what we're doing. This is actually a contractor collective. We require our contractors to all meet with each other every 3 months. It's a whole other talk, but it's worth it and it can be copied. But I did not do my first passive house until I did a house next to Ken Levinson and Sam McAfee. Then I made fun of them for 2 years, and then I hired Sam to work with me for 2 years, and I never did anything besides a passive house. You have to see somebody do one of these things, and then all of a sudden it works. So we'll come back to that in a second. A unified narrative. Comfort, resilience, health, energy, stability. Everybody wants these things. And Passive House gives them to you. And we don't have to be more technical. We don't have to be wordy. We can just say, hey, if you want a building that has all these things, hey, I can give it to you. And then coming back to kind of the collective proof, a tool that I use all the time, you guys may have heard of it. There's this place called Passive House Institute, and they have a really cool database. So coming back to nobody believes anything, and they need to be inspired. If you can show people performance data, where you have an entire database that's set up for it, and then you can show them the case studies on that, which I do all the time. I pick the type of project I'm looking at. I find the type of projects that have been done worldwide. I try to pick the buildings that I like the way they look, because that's the only things my clients care about. And then I show them that, and all of a sudden, I have my shared knowledge. It's super easy, it's super fast, the database is great. So architects and developers, I really do think they only really believe what they see. So I continue these conversations. If anybody doesn't know what the Reimagine Building Collective is, the accelerator started it like a year ago, and it's a whole bunch of architects and Passive House folks and other people kind of meeting every week, and we're talking about how we're doing it. Once you start to do these things, you need a little bit of support. Sometimes you're out there in the middle of nowhere, and it's a great community just to kind of collaborate and do things with. You can join it. And then just to kind of make the point a little bit more, this is the next Passive House Accelerator Conference. Everybody's invited. Reimagine Buildings designed for survivability. Resilience isn't optional, it's the baseline. Does anybody see the word Passive House there? No, it's not there. The whole conference is about Passive House. So we have about 30 other partners, the American Institute of Architects, lots of other people who for some reason, I don't know why, are afraid to jump into something and partner with us if we put the word Passive House. So just don't mention Passive House and invite them anyway, and then have half the thing be about Passive House. And it'll be great. So this is happening, everybody's invited. Tomorrow I'm gonna be talking about from Firehouse to Passive House. That'll be like really much more of a step-by-step. I'm doing it with Ed May, who's gonna really describe all the cool details of this project. My last slide. I'm actually already started writing an article, but after these conferences, I'm always like super impressed with everything I'm hearing, and I always want to write an article, and I'm gonna be working with Ilka on a podcast. So Ilka's here as well from the Accelerator. We're going to be, the thing I want to focus on is how are people scaling it wherever they are. So if you are scaling things, you don't have to agree with me, by the way, on my slides. If you see something that you didn't like that we should be doing differently, find us, email me, do whatever you want. I'd like to do an article about a week or two after this to talk about just how incredible the conference was. But where I'd really like to focus my energies is how are people scaling it, and more importantly, then distribute that widely as a to-do. Like, hey, this is what you can do wherever you are. There's no doubt about it in my mind that we've got so many super technically talented people here. Now the question is, how do we like spread that like wildfire? So thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and I'll invite you probably to stay a little bit longer because you're the one who left enough time for questions, and that doesn't happen very often, but that's the point of it all. So, please, floor is open for questions, and there were quite some, I would say, challenging statements that probably need further attention, because I can... Is there a question over there? I saw. All right. but we need to use the mics, so.
Michael, that was awesome.
Thanks.
I'm with Passivhaus Canada. I agree with what you said pretty much entirely. Would love to talk to you over a drink and pick your brain more. Here's one question though. With respect to the developers and the builders, for me, the challenge is to get them to understand the ROI for building to the Passivhaus standard. The biggest challenge is developers who are developing an asset to sell. They're not developing it to own or operate. That's an easier conversation.
Yep.
But what happens, how do you have that conversation with a developer that's looking to build the asset and then sell it?
Yeah, so I'm not sure I'm always the right person to ask those questions for. So I do a lot of high-end residential. So first of all, anybody who's doing high-end residential who's not doing passive house is just someone who didn't know what passive house was. I am doing high-end residential cost neutral or cheaper, depending on what it is. I was already spending a lot of money on a lot of stuff. So I'm actually spending less money on a lot of stuff now, and then I get to spend it on windows and other cool things. Coming back to the developer, I should just do a presentation on just this. The passive houses that we've done in New York that are single family have sold for records. So 37 Sydney broke a record in Brooklyn Heights. 409 Sackett just sold for a record in Carroll Gardens. So people in New York are definitely using the amenities. And actually, I'm working with the realtors on there just to focus on the amenities. I swear to God, if I told people they'd save money on the energy or if it was good in the environment, they'd run. But they really want a house that's sealed. They all want secure houses. Right now, especially in New York, they want something that feels secure. They want something that feels safe. They will pay so much money for like healthcare products, and they'll, whatever they need to do for their bodies. They want to live in that. They want to live in a spa-like environment. They'll do anything for it. So for the developer to describe, I think on a multifamily level or a single-family level, that you're going to live in a healthier building that's going to make you and your family safer and happier, it's like the easiest sell in the universe. You just don't have to tell them how they got there. So I feel like in New York, it's working, at least in the projects that I'm on. I will say you have to do it that way, otherwise they're never making their money back. And you're right, because that's it. If the ROI doesn't work, you could do it once, but never get in a bank again. Mm-hmm. Sorry, the one-year warranty period. I forgot something. You're also, if you're a developer who's doing condos, in New York you have a 6-year warranty period. These buildings don't need a lot of service, so you save a lot of money there. Sorry, I forgot that part.
Thank you very much. There's another question, and I think we still have time. Please.
I forgot that. While we wait for that question, I'll just say
teamwork. That's teamwork. That's how it has to be.
Thank you very much, Michael. It was brilliant. Very quick question. Can we pick your brain in regards to contractors and how to get them on board and
yes.
Let's say work on their resistance to do things differently and at the end of the line make them think that the idea was theirs?
So I think I can do the contractor collective thing in like 2 minutes. So what we did, my first passive house sucked. It was horrible. So to be clear, I created a contractor collective because I was not doing a good job. It is New York's first passive house, Manhattan's first passive house. It was also LEED Platinum. I had a client who was totally in, and he was there for me for my really, really rounded ride. It's how I met Kevin Brennan, who saved me. And it just was not methodical. It was just anything you could do to do and again, these are all landmarked houses. These are difficult old buildings. And in districts where people just don't care if it's energy efficient because they just care what it looks like from the outside. They don't even care if you have lights in the house. It's landmarked. So the next one I did, I was like, I'm going to find a methodical way of doing this thing or I'm doomed. So we started to ask our contractors to meet with each other or they couldn't bid on a job. And the first one, there's like 15 contractors who showed up and like they know each other but didn't really know each other. So they all compete with each other and they're all milling around outside. They're all like all sheepish and stuff. And we did our first one. They're inside and they just did it because I made them. it was really, really weird at first. And then after like 15 minutes, they're all taking their phones out, they're looking at this problem, and then they spend like 2 hours picking me apart about, you drew this detail, but it doesn't work. And you drew this and it doesn't work. And a lot of details that we were using from Passivhaus didn't work. They just weren't scalable. I mean, it worked, but like it just wasn't fast enough. They couldn't really do it. So that was wonderful. I had like 3 pages of notes. We actually worked at that time with PHI very closely and actually worked that out. And actually, Tomas, you're here. You go. And we were working with PHA at the time. We were working with Tomas. So Tomas was part of this. And we worked out those details. It took us months, and then we shared it with that whole crowd. We did another contractor collective. It was like 50 people, because they were all kind of excited. The next one was like 100 people. They asked us if we could do it at night. We did happy hour afterwards. Again, these were people who compete with each other, who did not talk to each other. The next one was at my house, thank God, under construction, because my clients would have sued me. It was like 200 people. We will never do that on a job site again. It's a house. And we started breaking up into different sessions. We did a listserv where the contractors could all like talk to each other. And on the listserv, this guy who's a graffiti artist found a faster way to spray stow. And what was taking us like a week, he was doing in a day, and he was making fun of everybody on the listserv. I found out about it because he was telling all the other contractors how to do it. So now they're sharing blower doors. So that's the contractor collective. It's super easy to start. Just make them do it once, bring drinks, and step back. Let them be the people that control it. And they're desperate for it. They all want it. Now I have contractors coming to us wanting to do a Passivhaus just so they can be invited to the collective. So it's been kind of interesting. So
another story. Oh. You're still here, please, because I see Dimitris has question, and I have a couple of questions, but there's no time for that. Dimitris, go ahead.
Thanks, Michael. Amazing once again. Okay, we were sure about it. I have the question: who do you think we should convince? Politicians who are a few but take decisions,
no.
Engineers who have
yes.
a lot of clients, or clients in order to go to the engineers?
Yes. Politicians would be last for me. I'm sorry, and I'm friends with a whole bunch of them. I just think that they are limited to what they are able to do. Invite them with you. Invite them to the meetings with the clients, but the clients are number one. People will do anything for the thing they experience. For getting people, and I think that's what I was talking about earlier. It's just you get someone to experience something really incredible and something that they feel passionate about, and they'll make everybody around them do it. So I think the engineers have to come too. Just because if I can't convince the engineers, I'm like fighting against the engineer. So the engineer has to see that it's possible. I invite my engineer to come because they don't want to hear it from the architect. Very similar to the builder not wanting to hear it from the architect. But the place where I've gotten the most jobs, so if we all think about like how do you make money too, which is also a good thing to talk about, having your clients open the house after they move in and inviting other people in the neighborhood, like the block association or someone else, someone who's controlled, owners to owners. You're there, but you're not the story. And then you have your client actually tell the story because they don't really care what the architect thinks too. They just want to hear from the owners. I feel like it's an owner-specific thing. If you're talking about developers, go to the developers, have the developer open it up, have the banks open it up. But I think that's easily, for me, that's been the fastest route. And then the politicians will come because they'll know the people who are voting for them want it. But unless you can prove that people want it, we're doomed. It's never gonna grow.
Thank you very much. And we're taking one last question.
Günther Edlichka, ÖRD Student Housing Vienna. Your question was how to scale it up. We accommodate international students in our guest houses. So from the beginning on, we had now 60,000 international students living in our dorms. Each year, 4,000 more. So that's, I think, the best way to scale it up, to inform the students how it works. And what you said, I can stress again. First of all, we did it because of ecological reasons, but now we see the comfort. Mm-hmm. We have no problems with molder. The air is always good. In the Corona times, it was very good because they could open the window, but they don't have to open the window. So all these things are really good, and our experience is, Passivhaus is the best thing we did, and we since the time 2005, we only built Passivhouses, student dorms.
Thank you. Yeah, you go. Yeah. those students, they're doomed for life, because everywhere else they live after that, they're going to wonder, like, why doesn't it feel like that? If the dorm can do it, how can you not do it? So you go. Nice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Yes, and